Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this episode today, I'm going to be going over differences between cowpunchers and buckaroos. But before I do that, just make sure you go and like and subscribe. Go watch some more of my videos. This is going to be more of an advanced video, and there will be some gaps in my knowledge, and feel free to just fill those in the comments. And without further ado, let's jump into the video. To start off, we have the origins of both the cowpuncher and the buckaroo, but first, let's do the cowpuncher. The cowpuncher came from the great state of Texas. Texas was originally occupied by Spanish and Mexican influences, Los Mestiños, and the Spanish Vaquero. And then the Anglo, white, and black Americans started immigrating to Texas around the 1830s. They would mix with Spanish blood, Spanish families, and they generally learned their cattle and riding practices from the Spanish that were living within Texas at the time. Now, these cowpunchers, as they would soon be known as, they learned from these Spanish people, but it wasn't until the great cattle drives that the cowpuncher was born. So the cattle drives saw millions of cattle moved from Texas to northeastern and eastern states by these cowpunchers. And there's two possible meanings behind the cowpuncher name. One is that these cowboys had to punch their cattle through thick brush, and therefore they were punching cattle. And then there was another meaning that these cowboys were punching cattle up into the stock cars of the railroads. These cowboys earned the reputation of being hard and fast riders, and this reputation sticks with them today. Now, the cowpuncher today is known for still punching cattle because they ride through such thick brush in their native country of Texas. And yes, I did say country. And this thick brush country requires that these cowpunchers ride in shotgun shaps. And notice how I didn't say chaps. Shotgun shaps. They go from the hip all the way down to the foot. They also ride in bat wings. This is a key difference between the cowpuncher and buckaroo. A common misconception about the cowpuncher is that they don't like to wear anything fancy, but this is simply not true. Now, the cowpuncher uses split reins for the majority of their work, and they also use the curb bit for basically the highest level of horsemanship or bitmanship that they pursue. This is different than the buckaroo. Cowpunchers will use around a 30-foot rope that they will tie onto their saddle in a process called tying on, while the buckaroo will use around a 60-foot rope, depending who it is. The cowpuncher also wears their spur straps to the outside of their boots, while the buckaroo wears it to the inside of their boots. This is a big difference that cowpunchers and buckaroos like to debate about. Cowpunchers ride in a swell fork saddle for the majority of the time, not all of them, and a lot of them like to have it rough out. Cowpunchers are also different from the buckaroo because they are surrounded by a certain mystique. They are the legendary cowboys of old, and this is pretty well documented in the Vaquero series, which you can buy on Amazon. Just look for the Texas Cowpuncher. And here in this picture, we see a lonely cowpuncher sitting underneath his horse, looking off into the distance at a bunch of different horses. The cowpuncher is also the romanticized version of the cowboy. You're not going to see many romantic buckaroos in the movies, but you will see cowpunchers with the white hat who go in and save the girl. You won't see buckaroos in the white hats saving the girl in the movies. More than likely, you're not going to see buckaroos in the movies at all. Now, where did the buckaroo come from? The buckaroos started in these states that I have labeled. They're largely in the West and on the Rockies. Now, the word buckaroo comes from the Spanish word vaquero. It was too hard for the Anglo cowboys to pronounce, so they just called it buckaroo. Now, the buckaroo today is still located within these states, but their influence is slowly dwindling, largely due to BLM and urban crawl. Buckaroos are different from the cowpuncher, largely because they're not as protected as the cowpuncher is in Texas, meaning the United States has a vested interest in ensuring the cowpuncher survives, but frankly could care less if the buckaroo survived. The native environment of the buckaroos, the sagebrush and the long and large rolling hills / mountains of the states that I labeled, dictate the type of equipment that they used. The buckaroo will be using a flat-brimmed cowboy hat. A lot of times you'll see buckaroos wear black cowboy hat, but this is not to say that it is always a flat brim. Buckaroos will also wear chinks instead of chaps or bat wings, and if they're feeling very traditional, they will wear the Spanish armidas. The buckaroo also rides in a wade saddle, which is different than the swell forks that their cowpuncher counterparts use. Now, for actual horsemanship, they use horsehair macates and bozels. This is the traditional style. They also have a hybrid of snaffle bit use, which cowpunchers also use as well. Now, the pinnacle of the buckaroo horsemanship is getting into the spade bit, or possibly even some half-breeds, but largely it's just the spade bit, not the curb bit that the punchers use. Buckaroos will also use a 60-foot rope, varying on the buckaroo himself. Now, buckaroos and cowpunchers also differ in their styles of work. So when we're talking about branding, buckaroos will use a head heel, or they will sometimes use a trap, while cowpunchers will head heel or possibly just heel. And cowpunchers and buckaroos, they do the same job. They just do it differently. Punchers do it hard and fast, but this also varies with who you're talking to. Buckaroos are known for going slow and really dragging out their workday because their environment that they're working in is not as hot as it is in Texas and Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Arizona. At the end of the day, though, the cowpuncher and the buckaroo are on the same team. They're both American. They both work the livestock. They both work for cattlemen. Just their style and preference for doing things change and are different. But I guarantee you, if a buckaroo and a cowpuncher were to sit down in a bar, they would be best of friends. And with that, thank you all for your time. I hope you have a great day. Adios.